Welcome to the Well-Kept Wallet Podcast, where it's all about getting you from where you are to where you want to be when it comes to your career, money, and lifestyle. And now, your host, who quit his 9-to-5 job to work from home doing what he loves, Deacon Hayes.
Hello, everyone. Today with us, we have Joe Saul-Sehy and Chris from Money Peach, Chris Peach. How are you guys doing today?
Very good, very good.
Dude, am I really on?
You are really on, man. We are not in your mother's basement anymore.
It's so weird. It's so weird to see sunlight and to be on the Well-Kept Wallet show. What's up with that?
Dude, I'm just glad to have you. It's been a long time coming. For you that are listening, I've been on Joe's show probably like a half dozen times, and I've never invited him on.
And there's probably been a reason for that.
But now that I see you in person, this is a live podcast, it just makes it that much better. So I'm glad you could be here, man.
Thanks a lot. Here on the Trade King stage.
The Trade King stage, podcasting live from North Carolina, Charlotte.
Woohoo!
So guys, today I want to talk about personal finance experts. Everybody kind of puts them on a pedestal. Everybody thinks like, hey, these guys know their stuff. They're perfect. Is that really the case? And we're going to start with Joe.
Yes. Does that wreck the show if I do that? No, actually. So are experts perfect? You know what's funny is that, so here's my issue with the experts, is that experts are right, but I think a lot of the time they're right for a subset of the audience they're actually talking to, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll have, as an example, and I'm not picking on Susie Orman, but Susie Orman has a message, I think, that resonates with an audience this big, and her, that's good radio, isn't it? An audience this big. So that resonates with a certain size audience, but she has a megaphone that's a lot bigger than that.
Wait, can I stop you real quick? Did you say circumcised audience? Or certain size?
Certain. I got to enunciate better.
Yeah.
My voice is almost gone. But she has an audience size that's bigger than who she's really should be talking to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, what about you? I mean, you're a little bit newer in the game, but, you know, you have experts that you follow, Dave Ramsey, and yourself, you're becoming an expert, right? You're that much farther ahead of other people. Do you think experts are perfect, or what's your experience?
Well, in the beginning, I thought an expert knew everything. So what I'm realizing is all an expert is they know just a little bit more than I do. Or if I'm an expert, I just know a little bit more than the next person. So what I also have learned is experts can sometimes suck, right? Like, look at football. You know, I got Peyton Manning on my fantasy football team, and he's an expert football player, and he sucks right now, right? So it's okay to
He
suck.
didn't last night.
Well, he didn't last night in the end, but week one, I mean, I started him, and you know, he was an expert that sucked. So I think that's okay to not be perfect. You know what I mean? We think, an expert has to be perfect, but no, I like to think I'm perfect, and I tell my wife that I'm perfect, but, far from it, right? Far from it.
So let's talk about that. Let's make it real for people that, what are some experiences that you personally have had? We'll start with Joe, where maybe it was evident you were not perfect when it came to your finances.
So, mine started off early. When I was in college, I went to this school called the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. So you can't have a job when you're in military college. You don't have any time for that. The first week, I go into Mark Clark Hall, which is the student union, and American Express has a table there. And believe it or not, they have credit card sign-ups, and they're offering like some free T-shirt, right? Mm-hmm. So it's funny, I can get into debt and get a free T-shirt at the same time. How awesome is that? But I know nothing. I'm 18 years old. In my family, we never talked about money. So I sign up for the American Express card. And guess what happened? I have no credit, and they gave me one. The card comes about 3 weeks later. You know what I did? I took all my friends out to dinner, and I bought a sweater. Okay, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. When are you going to wear a sweater? And then number two, like both days, right, that it's cold out. And then the second thing that happened was
What did you do, Joe? Come on, I'm in suspense here.
Yes.
You bought a sweater. You took all your friends out.
No, I bought a sweater, and oh my God, I'm losing it. That's funny. I got stageitis. No, but seriously, I bought a sweater, and two things about the sweater. Number one is I can't wear it because I'm in uniforms, and I can't wear it anyway because it's warm. So 90 days later, well, actually 30 days later, the bill comes. And when the bill comes, all of a sudden I realize I got to pay for this stuff. Never crossed my mind, right?
Yeah.
I get this bill, and so I did what every 18-year-old does that knows nothing about money. I called my mom, and I said, hey, I got this problem, right? And my mom wrecked my credit but also gave me the best lesson ever. She said, figure it out. And so my credit at 18 years old was ruined. But you know what? I've never made that mistake since.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think if you're listening to this, you can learn from that, when you're young or even when you're older, it's easy to just fall into these money pits, right? I mean, they're very attractive. We're marketed to heavily when it comes to credit cards, when it comes to debt. So, Chris, what about yourself?
So my focus on being an expert in my field is I always tell people start with the budget. So I'm sitting down with families, sitting down with, students, single people, and we're setting up a budget. And they're looking at me like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I'm telling them, you can do this, you can do this. And, I want to motivate them to stay on a budget because I think it's important. And at the same time, I'm at home and something happens in my budget and I totally screw things up, right? And I'm like in my head thinking, oh my goodness, if they only knew that I'm not perfect at this budget thing, But at the same time, I think that's okay to not be perfect, right? We hear all these experts out there that, if you just do this, you'll be perfect and life will be grand. And it helps if you're on the right track, but you don't have to be an expert. I think you have to give yourself permission to suck, right? I mean, like going back to my Peyton Manning example, he's still going to be awesome this year. I cross my fingers, right? But he can suck a few days, right? Week one or whatever. And same thing with budgeting. You don't have to be, 100% perfect to the penny each time. There's going to be some mistakes, right? And it's okay to not be an expert. And for personal finance guys like me and you who are going out there trying to help people, I think it's okay we let them know, like, we actually make mistakes. We don't get to advertise it on TV like the professional athletes do. We do it, behind closed doors and pretend it never happened. But would you say it does happen? Do you make mistakes?
It definitely happens. And so for us, there was a season where we didn't even do a budget, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and you kind of get in this groove of like, I don't know, I'm an expert. I know my stuff. Like, why do I need to do a budget, right? And then you're like, and then you go back and you do a budget like, I need to do this, right? Like, I really need to focus on those expenses because if I don't, it's easy for my grocery budget to go from $350 to $650
mm-hmm.
Right?
Because I'm not paying attention to it, right? And so it's so true,
Can I say something to that point?
Yeah.
So I was very lucky working for 16 years with some people that really knew money well. I was their financial advisor, and I'll tell you the thing that I found remarkable about these people wasn't that they were perfect, because they were subject matter experts in a lot of areas. The difference wasn't whether they messed up or not, because everybody messes up. What these people did was once they messed up, they got back on the horse. Mm-hmm. And what I found the difference between people I met that were super successful and people that weren't successful, the successful people just kept going. I mean, I've been watching this thing about Walt Disney that's been on NPR or PBS lately. Walt Disney failed and failed and failed. But nobody knows Walt Disney as a failure. They know him as this huge success, and it's because, I'm sure Walt Disney messed up the budget a few times. He went bankrupt, right? So Walt Disney did something that so many people think is horrible, and all we remember is the success because he got back on.
Yeah, absolutely. And he didn't have a college education either. So
right.
For a guy that didn't even have a degree, he was able to learn kind of from the school of hard knocks, just like Joe himself. So guys, what's the silver lining though? Because, we're not trying to say experts really suck in general, right? We're just saying for certain seasons, maybe that expert, like you're talking about with Susie Orman, isn't for you. Right. I like you talked to me earlier about Jim Cramer. Tell the audience about that. Like, is he for everybody? Is it, Well,
I just have this general analogy that during the Apollo space program, how's that for nerdy? But during the Apollo space program, they had these 3-stage rockets, right, that were full of fuel that would get them to the moon. And so as the rocket took off from the landing pad, it would be huge. And then once a stage finished using all its fuel, it would fall away and the rocket's further up in the air. So my analogy is there's some people that are on the landing pad of life and they need some certain things. Like as an example, Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's a guy who I love because he talks about all cash lifestyle. Pay your debt first, right? Avoid interest. Don't invest in depreciating assets like your car. That's fantastic. But somebody who's already past the landing pad stage of life, somebody whose rocket's already up there, they don't need to hear that. They already know that. Mm-hmm. Those people might need to hear somebody like David Bach or Rick Edelman.
Or Deacon Hayes.
Who talk about a well thought out financial plan.
Right.
But then we exit the atmosphere. And not everybody wants to exit the atmosphere. Not everybody wants to go to the moon or go to Mars. But for people that do, there's experts who talk to them. So Jim Cramer is phenomenal if you're going to Mars. But you already have to know the landing pad. You have to know the 6 areas of financial planning that CFPs talk about, and then listen to Jim Cramer. The thing that scares me about Cramer isn't Cramer. It's that we've got these people that have tons of debt, have a huge car payment. They've got these monster interest rates, and they're looking at stocks. They're looking at the wrong guru at the wrong time.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Chris? I mean,
well, going back to what you said, I don't want to tell everybody in the world that every financial guru out there sucks. But I think what happens is so many people, you search through the internet, you listen to the radio, and all you hear about is how perfect this person is. And, you hear, you got to do this, got to do this, got to be perfect, perfect, perfect. And I think it's overwhelming for people. Like, is there any room for failure? And then going back to what you said, yeah, there has to be room for failure. Like Walt Disney there wouldn't be a Disney World if he didn't fail, right? So you have to fail. And I think a lot of times, me included, is with our brand, we want to be perfect, right? So we're telling everybody, we're trying to help everybody we can by giving perfect advice. So we want you to be perfect. But at the same time, I think it's also important to let people know, going back to what I said earlier, is yes, sometimes I do suck. And it's okay to let yourself suck just a little bit, right? Just a little bit, and then build from there. So we were hearing, me and you were somewhere the other day, we heard a quote saying, getting it or having a testimony is a great idea. Getting one, that's the tough part, right? And for everybody out there who, getting a testimony means usually you failed at something and you were able to overcome it. So that's kind of the mindset I have now is going forward is giving people permission to suck for a little bit, one step back, 10 steps forward.
I see so many times, Chris, that people fail and they get the wrong lesson, right? Mm-hmm. They fail and they go, okay, I failed. I'm never doing that again, right? Which is completely the wrong thing. Right. It means I got to do it again and again because I haven't perfected it. What's that Thomas Edison thing when he couldn't figure out the light bulb?
He's like, I found 10,000 ways not to do it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. But what if he would have stopped the first time, right? We'd be sitting here with candles, Right.
And we wouldn't have a podcast, that's for sure. We would have electricity. But and I think for me, I listen to these experts and you take it with a grain of salt, right? I mean, we're all at different seasons in life. Like you were talking about that launch pad. I love that idea of like, you got stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Yeah. So wherever you're at in life, right? If you're starting to build a foundation, you got to listen to the experts that, like myself, like Chris, who are really focusing on how to put together a budget, how to get out of debt, the real basics in life, right? And then if you want some investing advice, you can check out Stacking Benjamins. They're all right too. But so guys, I mean, I think failure is one of those things that can make us stronger, right? It can be something that can be a catalyst to get us somewhere. I mean, like us, we had $52,000 in debt, in consumer debt. We're starting out in life. We're like, holy cow, like, to me, that's a failure. We have a negative net worth, and we're just like starting, right? But that was a catalyst for us to say, let's do this differently. Let's take charge. Let's learn how to do things right. And then that got me where I am today. So is there something maybe before you became an expert that really was a catalyst, maybe a failure that you had that was a catalyst for you to become an expert and learn more about money? Chris.
Yeah, I mean, so going back to, having a testimony is a great idea. Getting one, that's the hard part. And the reason why it's hard is it's not going out and searching for one. It's you got to go through the school of hard knocks. That's what we did. We woke up one day, had $0 in the account, couldn't buy groceries, and we had a baby, and my wife and I are looking at each other like, this is embarrassing. We can't even afford ourselves. Like, what are we going to do down the road? And it was kind of a reality check, a wake-up call, like, okay, we don't ever want to be here again. So let's just do the opposite of everything we've ever been taught, right? To not go back to this point, because it was pretty low, right? You have no money and you both work. It's like, wow. There's a reason why banks have huge buildings. I'm helping them afford that, right? I'm supplying them with money. So it was being deeply in debt and then at the same time, going through the painful part of getting out of it and, you building that character. And moving forward now, it's, when you see somebody when I see somebody, I can walk in their shoes. I can sit there and I can be like, you know what, believe it or not, I was in your shoes at one point. Maybe not to the penny, but I remember the feeling you have right now. And I'm here to show you that I'm the guy that got to the other side. And here's some steps that I did. Let's go along together type thing.
We like that story as people, too, the Phoenix from the Flame story, don't we? Mm-hmm. We like hearing about against all odds. I mean, Dave Ramsey, as an example. Yeah. Dave Ramsey's a guy, for people that don't know, is a guy that really messed everything up. Oh, yeah. And now when he's on his show, he talks about, I've been there. And I think that's why so many people like Dave.
Yeah.
So what about you, Joe? What's your story?
I've never messed anything up ever.
You're perfect.
I stick the landing every day with my financial picture.
You're in the launch pad. You're out of the atmosphere already.
Let me tell you what happened to me. No, I have messed everything up. So my second year as a financial advisor, my first year as a financial advisor, I made a lot of money as a first-year person in that field. I made about $80,000, which was a good sum.
This was back in the 70s?
Because you're really old. You're really old.
This is back. So I took my horse and buggy to work.
Yeah.
And so in my second year, I had an issue that happened, and I made no money. I had this big thing that happened, and I made no money for a whole year. So imagine I've got 2 young twins. I've got a spouse that's making no money. Everybody's relying on my check. And when I say no money, I think I made maybe $14,000 that year. So I know there might be people listening that made less than that. But to go from $80,000 to $14,000 in a family of 4. So now I have creditors calling, and I'm trying not to answer the phone. Everything got so bleak. I borrowed money from every family member that I had. And here I am during the day. I'm giving other people financial advice about what to do. And my financial picture is completely in shambles.
Well, so what did you do to get out of that? I mean, how do you go from making 14 grand back to 80 and plus?
Yeah, well, the first thing was I had to, and you talk about that catalyst, it just got so bad. When you don't want to answer the phone, you're sick of seeing your relatives because you owe all of them money, right? So there was this catalyst where you're like, you know what? I have to be this role model. And maybe role model comes later, but I can be a role model for I am a role model for other people, and I need to do this better for me. And they're not two different things. They both dovetail into the same thing. So it was eating an elephant, though, literally. I had to face my debt. That was the first thing. There comes a time when you just don't want to look at it. And so I had to put it all in front of me. And I had clients that would tell me that sometimes. They'd say, Joe, I love you, but coming here is like going to the dentist because you just put it out in front of me and I see all the bad stuff. I had to put it out there, and then I had to take one thing at a time. I had to say, listen, I can't solve all these problems today, but I can solve this one, and then I can solve this one. And it's funny how over a 3-year period, which seems now in retrospect like a short amount of time, felt like forever then, but in a 3-year period, I went from horrible to great, because 2 things happened. I worked on better expense controls and about paying my debt, but I also worked on the side that I never see people work on, which is I tried my hardest to make more money. Like I see people all the time that are clipping coupons, they're trying to save, I'm going to cut out my internet, I'm going to save $10 there. That's fine, but what if I instead use that same amount of time to figure out a way to make $20, and now I can keep my internet and I put $10 in the bank as well. And it probably isn't either or, it's both, and that's what I worked on for 3 years, and that was the catalyst though, man. It was a bad day.
I can totally relate to that. So, for us, when we were paying off our debt, the working hard and learning how to make money was more important than cutting the expenses. Cutting expenses, you can only go so far. Right. Until that's cut. You can't do anything more. With the income, the sky's the limit, right?
Yep.
Right. And so, I'm delivering pizzas at night. I know Chris cleaned pools. My wife, she decided she was going to sell her Coach purses. So if you're listening to this, ladies, you got Coach purses, you might consider selling them. They go for decent money on eBay. But the designer clothes, she decided, I have all this clothes I don't wear. We took it, what do they call those? Consignment shops.
Yeah, thrift store.
Well, consignment shops, because they give you decent money for them.
Yeah.
And so, it's just like everything we could do to bring in extra income, and learning how to make money can be the world of difference, in your financial picture.
I don't remember who said this, but I love this quote. This guy said, you can't shrink your way to greatness. And I always think about that when I think about cutting expenses versus raising income. Right. I can shrink, but that'll never make me great. If I increase my income, that's what makes me great.
Absolutely. Chris, anything to add to that?
Yeah, you said, I think you could do both. When you do both things, you're going to obviously catapult a little bit faster. But when you're cutting, you can only cut so far and you hit that wall, right? And then if that was your only plan, you hit the wall and now what? But when you're if you have a mindset where, look, I can sell stuff, I can go provide a service, I can go walk dogs, I can deliver pizzas, I can clean pools, you could just keep making things up in your head. I mean, people are out there to pay you to do stuff, right? There's always some kind of service, and as wacky as it might be, people will pay you to do stuff.
So it's funny you say that. So I walk my dogs at about like 6:30 every day, and I hope you don't know where I live because I don't want a bunch of people coming and trying to attack me. No, but anyway, so when I'm walking my dogs, I'm like looking at the yards, right? And I'm thinking like, man, they have like 5 weeds. Like I literally want to just go pull them. I don't know why. I'm like OCD like that because they're my neighbors.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, gosh, if I wanted to, I could just knock on their door, say, hey, I live like 5 doors down, and for $20, I'll just kind of clean this up for you. You know, and it's easy to find ways to make money, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of going out there and doing it. Yeah. So do you guys have any examples of maybe some way that you've made money? And let's keep it like PG, but if you
Joe, you have to think about this one, all right?
We'll let Joe go last.
Yeah. I'm going to put the filter on first.
Yeah, so like an interesting way.
Yeah, it's not me personally, but there's a kid in my neighborhood, and I put a flyer in my mailbox, right? And he had a little tear-offs with his name on it, and he took pictures of gates in our neighborhood, and I think my gate is on there. You can't tell, like, the address, but he took pictures of gates that are fading, that look really bad. And he says, need your gate painted, I will come paint your gate for you. Here's this. But he put pictures, and I think people are recognizing, like, wait a second.
That's my gate.
That's my gate. It looks terrible, right? I need to get this painted.
He's brilliant.
I know. And some high school kid's doing this. I don't even know if he's a high school kid. And I'm thinking, this is smart. You know, like, this kid could be going out and, making minimum wage somewhere, flipping burgers. But no, he's going to go paint people's fences, and he's probably going to charge them a pretty penny. But when you see your own, it's like when you said, you show them people's debt, they put it in front of them, and you're like, oh, I got to fix this. Yeah. And I looked at it the other day, I'm like, I think that's my gate. And it looks terrible. Like, I got to call this guy.
And you wouldn't have done anything about it.
Never would have done anything about it. So
Absolutely.
he pointed a problem out that I had. Shamed me into this problem that I didn't even know I had,
Well, actually, if I can get his number from you, too, I got a gate that needs painted.
Yeah, I know.
You better paint it before that guy finds your house and takes a picture of yours.
You know what's funny is the older I get, the more do-it-yourself projects I do. Like, I'm going on YouTube. I'm like, how to paint gate, or how to stain gates. So, so Joe, what about you?
I don't have any creative ways that I made money. I'll just say this. I was, during college, I was paying my own way through school, and I didn't have any money. I'm trying to do rent, and I'm trying to get my butt through college at the same time. And I'm listening to this late night financial guy. Bruce Williams is his name. I love this guy. And Bruce Williams takes this call from this person. This woman's complaining about my problems. She said, listen, I'm always, my budget's super tight. I never have any money. What do I do? And the woman, or Bruce said, what hours do you work? And she said, well, I've got this 9-to-5 job and it pays pretty well. And he goes, what are you doing between 5 o'clock at night and 9 o'clock in the morning? She's like, oh, well, we've got 3 kids and I got to sleep because I got to be good at my job. He goes, really? So you called me and you told me that you've got these big fat problems and yet you've got all this time. And she pushes back up. She said, but I got to sleep. He goes, that's just priorities, right? Is sleep more important? You're calling me to complain that you don't have enough money. Yeah. Is sleep more important, or is this problem more important? And so I heard that loud and clear. I went and I got a job as a paper boy at 4 a.m. And I went and I had been disc jockeying before. And I went and I started playing these parties. So I'm playing a party till 2 a.m. for some fraternity. And then I would go right from there to delivering papers. And the whole time, my first thought was, man, I'm tired. And the second thing I thought was, I need the money, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. I totally agree with Bruce.
So for me, remember, my grandma was an antique dealer. And so when I was a kid, she would take me to yard sales and she would find the most crazy things. So she found this coin silver pitcher, and she paid $5 for it. And I don't know if you know what coin silver is, but it has intrinsic value to it. And I want to say she sold that thing on eBay for $1,100.
Holy cow.
And so ever since then, I'm like, I'm going to go to, anytime my grandma wants to go to yard sales, I'm going to go to yard sales with her, But I don't know anything about antiques. So what do? I used to manage an electronics store. So I would look for electronics, and I'd look for stuff that was small, that wouldn't cost a lot to ship. And I'd go to Amazon, and I would look up the model number, and I'd see what is the lowest used price on Amazon. And so I was the king of the $5 router. I could buy a router for $5 and flip it for $50. Like
You were
it was nothing.
arbitrage.
I was arbitrage on Amazon. But then it's you got to sell a lot of routers to really make an impact. But you buy 3 of them in a weekend or whatever, and then anything with a barcode, right? And so I'm going in, now Amazon has that scannability where you can scan the barcode. So like, you do it so fast, and I could get a couple $100 a weekend just by doing that.
Yeah, at that point in your life, it's do whatever it takes, right?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. People say, like, if I don't have any money, what should I do? Should I not go out to eat? Should I not go out to the movies? Should I stay home more? No, you should go to work.
Yeah.
Right? Try that.
Absolutely. All right, guys, so kind of wrapping it up. If you're listening to this, we're talking about, we kind of have all our own personal life experiences, right, that have gotten us where we are today so that we can kind of pour that wisdom into you that are listening. And so any last minute tips, people that are, any place on the launch pad, and you're saying, hey, you know what, what's something like one piece of advice that you can give them to just better their financial picture? And we'll start with Chris.
Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Any part of your financial plan. So if you are just starting out, right, you're on the launch pad, like Joe was saying, and you make a mistake, get back on the horse. If you are debt free, you're building wealth, and you invest in a company that ends up tanking, go invest in another company somewhere else. Don't stop. Don't give up. Get back on the horse. And remember, if you fail at something, that's just one less thing to fail at down the road, right? Just keep going.
Absolutely. Did Joe pay you to say that? Because I think he's looking for investors. So what about you, Joe?
I don't do that anymore, dude.
Okay.
No, that's all right. I want to go back to what we were talking about experts, because I think there are the right expert, but I think we do it backwards. If I could give people one tip, figure out what your weakness is and then investigate what guru is great at that weakness. We do it the other way around, right? We find Dave Ramsey or we find the Motley Fool, and then we want to believe everything that they say and nothing else.
Right.
And a lot of times that expert doesn't apply to your situation. So start off with you and then go to the bookstore or Google or wherever and find, because there are experts that are awesome at every area.
Absolutely. And I view myself as one of them. No, but I would say if you're listening to this, I've got some free resources for you. I have a debt elimination form if you want to structure your debt using a debt snowball. I know Chris is a big fan of that. I've also got a starter budget that you could do in less than 10 minutes for your first budget.
10 minutes?
10 minutes, all for free. And it's actually a video. I actually recorded a video doing a budget in less than 10 minutes. So you can
Is there a guarantee on that 10 minutes?
There is no guarantee because some people might be slower than others, like Joe. So maybe 15 minutes. But
Deacon Hayes is offering a guarantee on his 10-minute budget. Guaranteed.
But you go to wellkeptwallet.com/resources. Well, guys, Chris, thank you for being here. And Joe, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
We hope that you've enjoyed this edition of the Well Kept Wallet Podcast with Deacon Hayes, where it's all about getting you from where you are to where you want to be when it comes to your career, money, and lifestyle. Be sure to tune in next time.